G'day gamers, Ranger Tony here with another Neverwinter Nights 2 build video. So I was doing a playthrough of Neverwinter Nights 2 as a paladin, which I didn't like. At the same time as I was doing that offline, I was doing a replay through of Neverwinter Nights 1 as a rogue, and I was having so much fun sneak attacking everyone and everything with the other rogue, Tommy Undergallows, under Gallows by my side. So I wanted to do a rogue build for Neverwinter Nights 2. There is a minor issue with that, and I'll get to that in a second. But this is the build video. This video is posted. The link is down below. You can come to this site and you can see this build and try it out for yourself if you want to. So this is designed to be a pure sneak attack rogue build. I have chosen a human for this. You can do this build as anything. The really outstanding races, humans have the advantage of extra feet at first level, so you'll have to get rid of one of those, and an extra skill, basically, you can take. You'll have to consider that. Halflings, of course, make probably the best rogues in the game. They get bonuses to dexterity, penalty to strength though, so you might have to lose the bonus damage there. But the strength of 12 there is really only for carrying capacity. So yeah. Elves make a good choice as well because they usually have a bonus to dexterity, and dexterity is the main skill that you really want here as a rogue. A little bit of intelligence never goes astray either. I have chosen human because I do that for most of my builds, just for that extra feat at first level. Chaotic good doesn't really matter. You can choose anything that you want. The choice of deity does not matter at all. Natural leader is the choice that I made for background. I love natural leader because it gives you a +1 bonus to your companion's attack rolls, giving you a -1 to your saving throws. It's only possible if you have a build where your charisma is 10 or higher. This, of course, is. The Wild Child is another good background, which is sort of focused on a rogue, so consider that if you want to take it, but I didn't feel that it was necessary to take that one at this time. For our starting stats, dexterity is the biggest ability that we want here. If you are playing as a halfling or a elf or any other class, any other race, sorry, that gets a bonus to dexterity, then you might want to go with 18 as your dex here. Or you might want to leave those points and put them in other things. That's up to you. I've gotten 16 as a human because I don't want to spend any more points on it than that. 12 strength, as I said before, just really to give me a little bit of carrying capacity, not necessarily the extra damage that it gives us, because it's only 1 point of damage. Constitution of 14 gives me an extra 2 hit points if you can, if you want to in your build. So if, for example, you go with a halfling and you don't want to put extra points in there, put them into Constitution, because you only get 1d6 of hit points as a rogue, so you really want as many points as possible. So having the +2 here means that I get 8 points per level rather than 6. I could go to 9 if I get 16. Intelligence, you want at least 13 in intelligence, but we've gone for 14 here to give us a +2 bonus. That just gives us 2 extra skills that we can take. Wisdom should be, we should try and get wisdom as high as possible for save throws, but you can only spread the points so far, so we're not taking any bonuses for wisdom. 1 point of bonus, so a couple of points into charisma helps with a couple of the skills, but it's not really necessary. You could just leave the charisma at 10. If you don't want to take natural leader, drop it to 9 or 8. that's fine. Important note is that you really don't need any of the charisma-based skills in the game. They are not required. But that's the starting points I've gone with. It's well-rounded. In fact, I think if you click recommend on the thing for a human rogue, that are the points it will probably give you. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. We have taken the following skills. Now, this is all very subjective. Um, I also, so the bread and butter of any rogue, disable device and open locks. If you don't take them, you're not a rogue. Go and build a fighter or something else. You won't get sneak attack, but you're there to open locks and disable devices. And if you're not spending your skill points on it, then what are you doing? Um, the next two that are considered, canon for a rogue are hide and move silently. Again, you should be taking them, so do that. Listen and spot are the sort of reverse of hide and move silently. So the idea is if you've got listen and spot, you will be able to detect your opponents. Now, if you've seen me playing Neverwinter Nights 2 in the warehouse, or more importantly, in Felial's estate, which is the next mission that you take after the smuggler's warehouse, you'll see me going through that building and you'll see a bunch of rogues walking along really slowly and they'll be blacked out. That's me using my listen and spot skills to actually detect them while they're in stealth. If I can't detect them, they just appear when they come out of stealth. Okay, so that is those skills telling me that there is somebody trying to stealth in front of me. And I can actually run to them and attack them while they're like that. So that's why those skills are useful. If you want to take them as any other class, take them, but you might not get those as class abilities and not be able to get them quite as good. So be aware of that. Okay, so then it leaves search, which is just how well you look for traps. And it's something that happens passively. You can turn it on. You can click the little magnifying glass and turn that feature on at any time if you want to do a thorough search for traps or whatever around something. But it's a passive thing that happens most of the time to detect traps. So keeping that as high as possible will help you with traps. The other skill that I took was appraise. Now, as a thief, as a rogue, you also get bluff and intimidate, I believe, and maybe taunt, and use magic device as class skills that you can potentially take. I don't really like any of them. They're not all that great, so I don't take them. But feel free to swap out whatever you don't want. And if you've got the spare points, take others. I actually have spare points here. I actually should have taken another one or two skills. Appraise, I didn't mention. This gives you a better price with merchants. Sometimes you have to make a skill check the first time you go to a merchant. It does it all automatically, and then from then on, you may get a better price with that merchant if your appraise skill is high enough. So they're the skills. Most of these things are going to be passive or fairly automatic. You click on a trap, disable device runs. You click on a locked chest or door, open lock just works. And, hide and move silently as soon as you enter stealth. That's what they are done. Listen, spot, search. They're all pretty much automatic, as is appraise. So you don't have to worry about them too much. I do find that early game, using stealth to get close enough to attack somebody is not that easy. It works well if they're on the other side of a door or just around a corner, for example. But if you're having to creep your way down a long corridor, they will detect you before you get to them. 9 times out of 10. Maybe after you get to like level, 10, 12, 15, you might have a lot better luck at it. But, early game, you're really not doing very well. Your best bet is to try and get close and use a missile weapon to launch if you're within 30 feet, I can't judge 30 feet for the life of me, but if you're within 30 feet, you can do a sneak attack with a missile weapon. And if you're in stealth, when you do that, it will be a sneak attack. That may be the way to go. I do sometimes carry a crossbow and use that for this build, but it's not my main weapon. Okay, let's look at the level progression and the feats, shall we? So, level 1 rogue, we get trap finding, of course, simple weapons, we get 1d6 of sneak attack. Wonderful. I'll talk about that in a sec. We get light weapon proficiency and we get rogue weapon proficiency. The first skills I'm taking, because I am a human, I get a second one. Take 2-weapon fighting, and it is a prerequisite for 2-weapon defense. So 2-weapon fighting reduces the penalty you get for trying to use attacks with 2 weapons. You also want to use light weapons. So rapier, short sword, hand axe, mace, dagger, kukri. I think that's the list. There is a list in game. When you look at it, it will tell you what they are. Use the light weapons rather than like you can if you play an elven rogue, for example, you get proficiency in longsword. You could go longsword, and you could go 2 longswords with 2-weapon fighting, and that would work. But you're going to get such penalties. The light weapons, less penalties. Now, dual-wielding daggers or not? Yes, there is no knife fighter class or subclass in this game like there is in Pathfinder. I wish there was. I would play it, but there isn't. So the big problem with using daggers is you're doing just that little bit less damage. The best weapon that you can use... Oh, actually, I'll come back to that in a sec. Let's talk sneak attack first. Sneak attacks. Let's look at the definition of sneak attack, and then I'll explain the problem with it. Damn it, it didn't find it properly again. Why not? Sneak attack. When you make a successful attack against an opponent who is flat-footed, cannot see you, in combat with someone else, or not all of those, any of those, the blow delivers extra damage. The extra damage is 1d6 at first level and an additional 1d6 every 2 levels thereafter. It is not multiplied in the case of critical hit. So we are not going to focus on crits for this build, because while a crit will do a little bit of extra damage, the sneak attack should be doing way more than the crit. All right? Some monsters, such as constructs and undead, are immune to sneak attacks. I will talk about that in weapons in a moment. But here's the thing. This says anyone who is flat-footed cannot see you or in combat with somebody else. Flat-footed, yes. Now, technically, first round of combat, your opponent is going to be flat-footed. So if you can get in there quickly and get right in front of them and attack, you will probably get a sneak attack face-to-face. If you are in stealth and you manage to hit them, it will be a sneak attack. When they are in combat with somebody else, here is the problem. The game tells you, and the wikis tell you, that this should work no matter where you stand. I never get it to work when I am directly in front or just a little bit to the side. It only works for me when I approach them from directly behind or directly, off their shoulders. The wikis do suggest that maybe disengaging and re-engaging, so maybe click on a different target and then click back on them when you are at, a fairly frontal sort of attack might get it to work. I have no real luck with it. So it means that whenever I'm playing a rogue and I want to try and get a sneak attack, I'm always trying to flank them. I'm always moving and trying to move around behind them to get it to work. That is not a problem in Neverwinter Nights 1. In Neverwinter Nights 1, I can be right there next to Tommy, my other rogue, the other rogue, and we can both be attacking the same opponent, and one of us will always get a sneak attack and the other one won't, depending on who the opponent is attacking. So I don't know what the deal is, but the mechanic is slightly different in Neverwinter Nights 2, and it is harder to pull off. But if you take the time and the effort to do it, sneak attacks do really good damage. Now, your opponents have no problem working out how to do a sneak attack. They do it correctly. So if you are surrounded by, multiple rogues, and even if there's like two of them in front of you and you're attacking one of those, the one that you aren't attacking, even who appears to be, basically there in front of you, they will be getting sneak attacks, as will all of the other ones around you that you're not currently attacking. So be aware of that. It is super dangerous at early levels. They will wear you down very, very quickly. Okay, that's sneak attack. But that's what this build is around. So be aware. You are going to want to move to get in position to sneak attack. Don't expect every attack to be a sneak attack, but try for them as often as you can. Move around in combat. And we're going to be taking feats which allow you to move in combat a little bit better. Okay. At level 2, we get the skill, or the feat evasion. And this gives us a bonus when we do a reflex save that would normally allow us to take half damage. We take no damage. Okay, so that's very, very nice. It's just a standard thing that all rogues get, right? Not important for this build, but it's pretty good. At level 3, regardless of whether you have 2 skills at first level. So basically, if you're not playing a human or a Stoutfoot halfling, who also gets an extra feat at first level, do not take 2-weapon defense. Just leave it out. What 2-weapon, I didn't mention this, what 2-weapon defense does do is it gives you a +1 to your armor class when dual wielding. So you're basically using the second weapon like a shield. That's the concept, right? And if you use the parry skill, it gives you a +2 bonus to parry. All right. I didn't take parry with this build, but you could. I mentioned parry in my Weapon Master build. Go and see that where I talk about how parry works. Parry can be useful as a rogue, but I don't really recommend it. It's very situational. It's very hard to pull off. And we'll see in a little minute where you get a skill which sort of makes parry not necessary. All right? But parry can be a good way to stop sneak attacks. All right? So be aware of that. So at level 3, we're going to take Weapon Finesse. Weapon Finesse allows us to use our dexterity rather than our strength to determine whether we hit in combat. And it can be used with any of the following weapons: dagger, hand axe, hammer, kukri, light hammer, mace, rapier, short sword, sickle, whip, unarmed strike. Ignore whip. There are no whips in the game. All right. Now, weapon choice. In this build, we are not going to be taking the next skill, Weapon Focus, where you get a +1 bonus, because you want to be flexible. All right? Use the best weapon you can get at the time. Now, weapons that stand out. There are a lot of really good daggers in the game, so don't discount daggers. All right? There are some daggers which have really good enchantments on them that give you extra abilities that you might not normally get, that you might want for a build. So if you're wanting and like put it in your offhand, or if you find a pair of really good daggers, just use those. Okay, daggers do a little bit less damage, but don't discount the daggers. They are good. And if you're playing a halfling, you might not be able to use some of these weapons. For example, you won't be able to use the rapier because the rapier is a medium weapon, and so it would be considered a two-handed weapon for a halfling. With one exception, if you play the Storm of Zahir campaign, one of the characters in there has a halfling-sized rapier. But you can't get it unless you kill them or maybe pickpocket them, I don't know. But just saying. Well, actually, you can get it because they can become a member of your party and you could take it off them. Or hang on, I think the weapon is bonded to them, so maybe you can't. Anyway, dagger is a good weapon. Hand axes, there aren't any really great in the original campaign. But if you wanted to play something different, a mace in one hand and a hand axe in another, sure. Or even two hand axes. Go for it. Karmas and kukris. There are some good kukris in the game. I'm not sure on karmas. I haven't looked, but the karma is the little sickle sort of bladed oriental weapon. There are some good light hammers in the game, so consider taking that. When you get it, there is a good one. And because it's finessable, use it. As I said, there's no sense. We're not going to focus on a particular weapon. So use the weapons that you find that are good. Maces, I will say, light hammers and maces, there is a very good use for those. We said before, sneak attacks are not possible against undead. And some undead are not, that they are invulnerable to piercing damage, which rapiers, short swords, and daggers do, the three most common weapons used by rogues. So, when you go to Fort Lock, before you go to the graveyard, buy yourself, if you have to, either a couple of maces or a light hammer and a mace, and take them with you and use them. Dual-wield maces, little drummer boy, dual-wield maces when you go there, because even though they don't have any, you might not have any enchantments on them, they will work better than trying to use something like a rapier and a dagger, or a rapier and a short sword, or whatever, or two short swords, whatever. Because those weapons pierce, some undead it'll just sit there and say, your weapon is ineffective, your weapon is ineffective, and you're wasting your time. Rapier. Rapier is the weapon everybody wants to use. Now, there is no reason why you cannot dual-wield rapiers. The game will let you. I hate to do it because it looks stupid. The idea of dual-wielding rapiers just doesn't sit right with me. So I generally have rapier and short sword, or rapier and dagger. All right? Something like that. And in this game, I actually tend to consider short swords just a slightly longer dagger, because that's what they look like anyway. I consider them just another dagger. I don't consider them short sword, right? So rapier and short sword, rapier and dagger, whatever you can find that's the best. At the end of the whole smuggler's warehouse thing, so when you basically end up killing Moira, she has a really, really, really good for that point in the game rapier. Take it, use it. It's a +3. It doesn't have any, super great damage bonuses, but it's a +3, so use it. No matter what you were using previously, unless you come across undead. Switch out to light hammer or mace. Short sword, as I said, same as a dagger. If you've got a good one and it's better than whatever else you're using, use it. Sickles, no. I don't know why. I just think I cannot picture someone dual-wielding sickles. I'm sorry. There are no whips, and don't use unarmed strike. Because even though it works with weapon finesse, you're not a monk, so you're only going to do like 1 to 2 points damage with your fists. Not worth it. So, that's weapon choice. You really, you're going to take 2 weapon fighting, you're going to take weapon finesse, use your two weapons. We're taking them like this. It doesn't matter when. You could do weapon finesse there and two weapon defense there if you're playing a human, but I wanted to put two weapon defense there because it's the one that's not as important. It is nice to have, but it's not as important. You can leave it out of the build. But we've got weapon finesse here at level 3 because that's when you finish the tutorial. At the end of the tutorial, you want two weapon fighting and you want weapon finesse so you can sneak attack with two hands. 2 attacks per round as sneak attacks if you pull them off. And at that point, you're doing 2d6 points of damage. So, yeah, we want that. Right? Okay, level 4, we get an extra point in Dex. Really nice. We also get Uncanny Dodge. You retain your dexterity bonus even if you're caught flat-footed or attacked by a hidden or invisible attacker. This is really nice if you're moving around in combat or things like that. It's not specifically if you're moving in combat, but being caught flat-footed or being attacked by someone invisible, it's nice to keep your dex bonus. So that's really, really nice. It helps with this build, so that's good. It doesn't help you sneak attack more, but it'll keep you alive a little bit, so that's nice. Level 5, we go up to 3d6 sneak attack. Wonderful. Love it. Nothing better. Level 6 rogue, we get combat expertise. Now, we're taking this because we need to have +1 bonus to AC. We need to have +1 bonus to AC. We need to have intelligence of 13 for combat expertise, right? Now, this allows you to make defensive attacks, giving you an AC bonus. Don't worry about it. You're not going to use it, all right? We're going to use it for other things. Level 7, 4d6 sneak attack. Wonderful, beautiful. Level 8, improved uncanny dodge. Now, also you get your second point of dex. So our dex will now be 18 +4. Great. Better to hit, better armor class. We're doing good. Improved uncanny dodge. This is what makes the rest of Moya's campaign doable. So you should be level 8. You should have this before you do the warehouse and before you do Filial's estate. I did a test playthrough just the other day of this. A character with this feat cannot be the victim of a sneak attack unless the attacker has 4 more levels than the defender. So this means you are not going to be snuck attack ever again, because even if you come across a single opponent, big bad guy, I doubt they're going to be 4 levels higher than you anywhere through the rest of the campaign. They might be 2, they might be 3, but I really doubt they'll be 4. Okay, so yeah, you can then go through all of those rogues at the Smuggler's Warehouse, Filial's Estate, and any of the stuff that if you want to do Nishka's personal quest line against Lelden, all of that, where you come across all of those rogues, none of them will be able to sneak attack you. Okay, just you. They will be able to sneak attack your companions. They will still be able to sneak attack you from stealth. If they do manage to get up to you in stealth, they will be able to do 1 sneak attack. But as soon as they come out of stealth, they will no longer be able to sneak attack you. It doesn't mention it there, but they can still do sneak attacks from stealth. But it still doesn't mean that you are going to be 100% safe when you're being mobbed by multiple rogues. It just means that they're not going to be sneak attacking you. Most of them are going to be dual wielding, and they're all going to be attacking you at the same time. Your armor class isn't great. Your hit points aren't great. Still be careful. But you're not going to die in 2 or 3 hits because you have 5 rogues all around you, all sneak attacking at once, and they get massive sneak attacks and kill you in one go. All right, because when we have a look at this point, our hit points are 64, right? And a rogue the same level as us is doing 4d6 of damage, which is 4 to 24 extra points of damage with each attack, right? Even if you only do half of that damage, it would only take, 5 or 6 sneak attack hits to kill you. So, and when you've got 5 rogues around you, all dual wielding, all potentially getting sneak attacks, yeah, this will save your life. This is why that whole Moira campaign, where you have to come across all those rogues in Neverwinter, is, in my opinion, the hardest part of the game, because you will be mobbed by those rogues, and there is not really a good way to defend against them, except having a butt ton of hit points, or improved uncanny dodge. And even then, you still want to be careful. You want to make sure that you've got people helping you to take out these guys as quickly as possible. Right. Level 9, Feint. This was the reason why we took combat expertise. So we also get trap sense +3, so we're better at traps. And now 5d6, 5 to 30 points of damage from every sneak attack. If you every hit against someone from behind is potentially a sneak attack. And by this time, we've also got 2 attacks per round, right? 3 because we're doing dual wielding. So 3 potential sneak attacks at 5 to 30 points of damage. You can do a butt ton of damage with sneak attacks, even on a level 9 rogue. Okay, Feint. This will be one that you'll want to be careful with, but it will be useful. So, the Feint feat can be used to deny your opponent their dex bonus to AC for a combat round. In order for it to succeed, you make a bluff check. So, you want to take the bluff skill if you're going to use this. I didn't take it for that build, but I had points left over. So, I will amend this build to have bluff as one of the skills. Regardless of whether the dex bonus is removed, you only get a single attack that round, but haste does stack with it. The feat is especially useful for rogues who can sneak attack with it. So that's why we want this. That is purely the point of it. We want to try and do a feint, which then gives us a free sneak attack next round. So this will allow you to sneak attack an opponent directly in front of you. Use it. Right? If you can't get into a position to get around behind an opponent, then try and use feint. Okay? And there we go. Level 10, Opportunist. You get a +4 competency bonus to attack rolls when making attacks of opportunity. If someone moves past you while you are in combat, so an opponent, if an opponent is directly in front of you and they try and cast a spell or shoot a bow, unless there is a skill, I think it's improved. Anyway, there is a skill they can take. One of the ranged attack skills does give them the ability to no longer make attacks of opportunity when they shoot their bow. But otherwise, if someone's shooting or casting a spell or moving in front of you while you're in combat, you can make an attack of opportunity, and this gives you a bonus to that attack. And don't forget, that attack can be a sneak attack, particularly if they are like moving past you at an angle, or you are directly, you are in the position where you are behind them or whatever, and they try and shoot a bow or cast a spell. Bang. Very nice. So we're taking that at level 10. Level 11, we're up to 6d6 sneak attack. I've said it enough. Level 12, we get another point of dex bonus, and we're going to improve two-weapon fighting. All this does is further remove the penalties. You won't notice the penalties by this point unless you actually deliberately throw away your offhand weapon and just use your, excuse me, your main weapon. But further removing those at this level will be nice. It just means you'll hit a little bit more often, and you're getting even better at finding traps. Slippery Mind, this one is more of a makeup thing. It really is not going to help us any further with our crits or moving around in combat. We've covered most of those, so feel free to change this and use something different. This is just helping me with will save throws, which is the one thing that this build is a little bit light on. Level 14, nothing. 15, we're going to take greater two-weapon fighting. So this time we get an extra attack with our offhand. So we now get a third attack with the offhand. By the time you get this, you're doing 5 or 6 attacks per round, I think it is. You do get a big penalty to it, but it is, it is quite nice. And we're up to 8d6. 8d6 sneak attack. 16, improved evasion. And another point in dex. So previously, evasion gave us the first part of this, which was we take no damage if we make the save throw for a reflex save. Improved evasion means that even if we fail the save throw, we only take half damage. So that is really nice. Level 17, up to 9d6 sneak attack. 18, improved two-weapon defense. That one you can only take if you took two-weapon defense at level 1. If not, take something else. But that's what I'm taking there from a human point of view. Level 19, defensive roll. This one's automatic, so you don't have to do anything about it, but it only happens once per day. So if you struck by a potentially lethal roll, so lethal blow that's going to kill you, you can make a reflex saving throw. If successful, you only take half damage from that blow. The fact that it only works once means that they'll, potentially kill you. You roll out of the way. If they get another attack at you, well, but it's a nice to have. And we're up to finally 10d6 of sneak damage, and at level 20 we get our last point of dex. At the end, we are 21 dex for +5. You have 160 hit points, which isn't great, but it's better than it could be. And yeah, we are doing insane damage with our sneak attacks. And we hopefully set you up really well to be able to move well through combat and make those sneak attacks. You've got feint to do sneak attacks against opponents in front of you. You're doing really good at two-weapon fighting. You're getting lots of attacks per round. You're able to dodge through combat without too many problems. You're set to be a really good rogue. As I said, I've played this through the first chapter of the game and gone past and killed Moira. So I've done all that stuff where you come across a lot of rogues and it works. You still got to take it carefully, but you're not getting sneak attacked by all of those rogues in combat. So it works really well. There is one other rogue build that you could try, and it's often referred to as the gunship rogue, and that is you can sneak attack with missile weapons. I recommend you take a missile weapon with you. Heavy crossbow, you can't use heavy crossbow. Standard crossbow is good, probably the best option you can take. And you can use that to sneak attack from a distance. But because you can sneak attack from a distance, you could play as a purely ranged build and not use two-weapon fighting at all, and just circle around combat at a distance, sniping at opponents and trying to take sneak attacks on them. If there is enough requests, I will show you that build. It will be fairly different from this because most of these skills are not going to help, but I can show it to you. It is a little bit harder to do than this because you're just not sneak attacking anywhere near as much. It takes a little bit to learn how close you've got to get for the sneak attack to work. And then you've got to move a lot. So you can't just sit there and just continually launch arrows. You're going to have to take a couple of shots here and then move and take a couple of more shots. So you may find that you're not doing anywhere near as much damage in a combat. Like you might only get a chance to do a couple of shots in an entire fight because all of your companions have killed everybody else in the time it's taken you to move to another position to be able to get a sneak ranged attack on another opponent. So that can be a hard build to go for, but it is another way to play a sneak attack rogue. Anyway, I hope you like that. The link to this build is down below, and give it a try. I'll see you for the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye now.